the recording. The people can't make it to this call. Okay, so welcome all. This is our 70th BC Open discussion. And today we'll be talking about there's a release plan available for 2022, release wave 1. So we'll go through that. Then there was a question around how you download an image from URL. So we'll see is kind of a demo around it. And then we'll move ahead with any open discussion if we have time. There are not many people in this meeting right now, but we talked about a few weeks ago. There are 2, 3 things that I want to do for my personal learning. And if people here are interested, maybe we can do it as a joint project and I can create a repo in GitHub and maybe every second week we can do something like that. The first idea that I had was to actually create a workflow on any of the pages where it does not exist. And just I haven't done it yet. So I'll be doing it for myself, but if people are interested, we can do it here, maybe every other week, and actually do it together and understand what's written by someone is correct or not. So I'll be open for suggestions. If you want to start from pretty basic, I can go through that route, but workflow is something that I have to do for myself.
I can chip in with some of the samples that we have created.
Great. Then the other thing that I'm getting a lot of questions around is and business central migration is specifically about India localization. I haven't worked for India localization for a very long time now. But if people are interested, I can do it together. We might take a Cronus database, build some fake customs around it, and just try to upgrade it. So that's second thing in my agenda. Again, if people are interested, I'll do it here. Otherwise, I'll do it whenever I have time. And I guess yeah, that was someone said it that we should be doing some development here. So the first one was around that, and the second one is just based on the questions that I'm receiving, and I cannot answer all the questions unless I have done it. So maybe I'll do India migration someday, just to understand the process. Okay, so Sandeep sir or anyone else, if you have any other thoughts around what kind of development activities we can do, just drop me a mail or something like that, or we can discuss here, and then we can plan it. And Sandeep sir, you want to say something?
Just got lot of ideas, like things like attaching attachments on tables on which it does not exist. Say,
Okay,
for example, bank account. So those can be cool samples. So we can go into things which are available within Business Central, but it's not omnipresent, not everywhere, and people end up doing customization. So we can have one, repository kind of a thing from where people can pick up the samples and
okay,
use them. Just like you're
that's
doing it for the things like uh, localization upgrade is one such example. So anybody who wants to do it can refer to it and do it easily without wasting time. Why to
right.
reinvent the wheel?
Right. So attachment is a good example. I would call it as a medium category thing where we can put it. But yeah, it's open for others also. If you think that there is something that we can start as a development exercise, and maybe not every week, but we'll do it every second week. And I don't want to do it alone. So the plan would be that we'll create a Git repo where others can branch it off and do their mods, and then we can review them in this meeting and then see what can be pulled back into master, which is ready for there, or we can leave it there. And then, as Sandeep sir said, that becomes a sample for going forward. So yeah, emails, tweets, whatever you prefer, I'll be okay with it. Just some thoughts and ideas around it, and maybe every second week we do that going forward. Okay. So let's move ahead, and that's what you do if you're not a default attendee. You go to this page. This page, if the meeting happening next week gets updated by Sunday or by max by Monday morning India time, and you can register there. If you're here and don't want to get into that hassle, then drop your name and email, and I'll make sure that you get invited going forward. What's happening? Dynamics Con agenda is ready. My session also got selected, so I still have to think what I want to cover into that report thing. But there are cool sessions which are available. Go ahead and watch what you would prefer to watch live, and I prefer to watch it live because I'm bad in going back and then watching recordings later. So go to DynamicsCon website, figure out what's interested for you and your team, and create your own checklist that these are the sessions that I would like to attend, and go ahead and attend them when that happens. Then during last week, Microsoft announced what's new and planned for the next release of Business Central. So we'll quickly go through that, and then there is a question that we'll try to answer today. Okay, so what's new in, and my dates are completely wrong. 2022 release wave one. Sorry for that. Um, and let me open the website because that'll be good to read over there, I guess. Okay, so here is what's new for this release coming in April. Blocking deletion of GL account, which means that there's a restriction now that you can apply on when and which GL accounts you can delete. So if that boolean is set to true, you cannot delete GL account that has ledger entries after the date that is set on the setup. So that's will be in place in the next release, and set a date and delete after that. Okay. Allow sell to and bill to customer to be different for jobs. Okay, that's something that I've heard previously from my customers, and that seems a cool addition about having different sell to and bill to customers on the jobs. But that I actually um, kind of adds new field into this table, job table, from bill to and this, and then there will be some data that will move from new shipping. Okay, there's quite a few data that's moving here and there. And then they also added a report selection for job codes and job orders, I guess. So that's cool. Let's see what it brings into the product. Okay, change default company bank account on sales and service document. Okay, check document and journal in background. The journals are already there, I guess. Some basic journals are there. I think it's an enhancement, and it will let you, when the validate is enabled, the check fact box displays the next to the document number or journal line shows the issue in current document. Okay, so it's also available in the documents. I know for a fact that it was available in some journals till now in this release. They are also extending it to some documents, and there will be errors that will be visible before you actually post it. But as it says that it will be in the feature management, so it will not be enabled by default, but you can enable it going forward if that's something that your customer would find interesting. So let's see how it looks on the documents. Consolidate customer and vendor balances. Now, this is going in circles in Twitter. I was reading about it yesterday. But then there is something where people are saying, is it important? Is it required? Might be both a customer and a vendor. When that's the case, you can avoid making unnecessary payment or receipt. to save all transaction fees by consolidating the customer and vendor balance.
Hmm.
You can turn a contact company into customer or vendor, which was there. On the customer page, you can view balance as vendor. Okay, so if you have the same customer who is also a vendor, now you can see balance as vendor. And on the payment journal page, you can use the net customer vendor balance action to net out what's need to be paid for this. Okay, anyone thinks that this is useful and this is required somehow?
Yes, it is important in a lot of cases, and it's actually a part of some European localization too.
Oh,
It happens lot of businesses where you are buying something from your customer and selling them some processed goods or different variety of goods. And
okay,
at the end of the day, both accounts has to be managed, particularly in case of localization issues like India, where sales and purchase has to be recorded separately. You can't net it off. This feature will actually save people to pay the net balances so that unnecessary, adjustment entries can be parked. One of my customer will be very happy to have this.
okay.
They are doing outsourcing of the production, but due to
Mhm.
taxation issues, they sell the raw material and components to the manufacturer and then buy the finished goods
Okay.
just to avoid that, wastages of subcontracting.
Hmm. Okay, this is what map to data was option set such as payment term, freight, and shipping agent without code. Okay. Payment term, shipping method, and shipping agent can change along with the environment to react quickly. Okay. You can manually map payment term, freight, and shipping agent with settler data was. Hmm. Okay. I need to start working on data was. It seems cool. I haven't done anything on data was yet. More control over deferral posting, new UI for demand forecast, payment reconciliation journal, what they did on payment reconciliation journal. Bank and payment reconciliation are key processes. In this release, we have made it even more efficient to use payment reconciliation journal. View fields from debit and credit on the footer of journal, use separate number series, preview before posting, use the payment reference on the auto application rule. Okay. Report selection for projects. Good. Default dimension on locations. Okay. Shopify connector. Biggest budge for this release. So Business Central is teaming up with Shopify to help customers create better shopping experience. So now Business Central is coming up with the default Shopify connector. Let's see what's in there because there are so many mm, app source app which are just for Shopify connections. So let's see what's in the base going forward. And if you haven't used Shopify or any those kind of connectors, those kind of used to connect the sites which sell stuff like you can you can have a connector for Amazon if you do business with Amazon. In the same way, Shopify is one of the most used websites on those platforms. So this will fill that gap. And let's see what comes in the base one because there are other ISVs for sure, which only works right now as connectors to Shopify and other platforms. Okay, bank reconciliation for North America, support inventory bags, synchronize sales order and quotes in both direction, and use different GL account for payable and receivable transactions. You can enable alteration of default customer or vendor posting group by choosing allow alteration of posting group on sales and receivable setup and service management setup pages and the purchase payable setup. Okay. Hmm. Okay. That's something to look for. Okay, Office 365. I haven't invested much into it, but it seems super cool that Microsoft is continuously working on enhancing the Teams integration with Business Central and Outlook add-in. I guess people who are on Business Central SaaS surely use it. And now there is capability to add attachment from Business Central documents. So now you can use that feature in the Outlook add-in, which is cool. Development, and this is where I guess we should spend a little bit time. Auto deploy dependency dependent project in Workspace. While working on AL Workspace and project in Visual Studio Code, it is common to open the workspace and deploy a given project. Currently, however, in the NST server does not have all the extension that the project depends on that must be manually traversed and installed as dependency publishing only works if there's a baseline to calculate from. Deployment will now automatically deploy the required projects in the workspace. Okay, so this is the scenario where you are working on an environment where there are multiple apps and you are publishing app which have a dependency to one of the app in your workspace. It's not going to bring it from cloud or somewhere else, but if that app is also part of your workspace, that will automatically get deployed when you try to deploy the child app. So that seems cool, but not for people who do majority of pertinent extension because that doesn't cover it. But people who work on ISVs and solutions who have 4 or 5 extension and then all of them are part of the same workspace. When they try to deploy a child extension, it automatically deploys other parent extension which are required. That helps them. In client performance profiler, this is something that I guess they did something in the last release also. uh, Empower functional developers and consultant, and it says functional developer and consultant as well as customer administrator and power user to capture user flow from within the web client and view high level information about the time spent in web client. Okay, this way people can investigate which involved extension consume most of the time and including top consuming methods, for example. Okay, does it need Visual Studio Code? Because then it limits the dev consultants and administrator, and I guess that's what I'm thinking about. The performance profiler empowered pro developer to investigate this. Okay, this was done in the last release, as we saw. When you do snapshot debugging, you get a top-down window in your VS Code, which walks you through around which method took how much time and was part of which extension. But in the next release, they're taking it further, and this tool will easily for consultant and customer administrator to perform initial performance investigation without involving developers. Okay, an app source app or dynamic score app, it will be possible to share resulting capture, making it faster for pro developer to analyze and perform. The inclined performance profiler will be a new app page that can be reached on its own from help and support. So there's something new coming up on help and support. It will contain action to start and stop the user flow. And you'll be able to see the performance result of capture, including time spent per involved extension, top method call, and other metrics. Note that the rule of GDPR will apply. That makes sense. The page open another window side by side. And okay. So that surely helps to consultant, because this has been a huge debate about do we need to engage developer on every client interaction, and that solves most of those problems. Because if a consultant at a customer side or while talking to customer can record this and then share this with the developer, knowing where the problem is, that'll help developers also to fix that problem easily. I'll be surely looking for this one. Sure. Then client performance profiler. Demo tool and demo data for manufacturing scenarios. Hmm. This is interesting. Demo tool and demo data set will be available for manufacturing as an extension that you can install on any environment. Pre-sales specialist can run the tool on top of Cronus or on my company and get the setup and demo data they need when they demo various scenarios in the manufacturing space. And they will be part of the product media. So I'm hoping it's a rapid start. They will be part of the product media. Oh, source code. Okay. So that means it's a code written to set up that demo data and all. Let's see what comes with that. AL go for GitHub, modern DevOps for partners. CI/CD virtually free in terms of investment. More partner adopt this practice, which lead to higher quality of Business Central. Okay. When you create a new GitHub repo, you can base it either on the PTE or the app source app template repo. Both types of repo gives you a full functionality GitHub repo for AL project in which you can create your own app or add your existing app. And the app that they are talking about, which we used last time from Freddy. So that sample they are talking about, this one. This is the same sample, I guess. Cloud environment settings.json and all. Okay. And what it brings then? Create a new app by using create a new app or create the new test app workflow. There are workflows in it. That's interesting. Test. These are test ones. ALGO, local dev environment, and cloud dev environment. What is this? Okay. This is something to try for sure. What this does. Okay. Create a new app. Add an existing app by simply uploading the app file to the add existing app or test app workflow. App added are automatically included in CI/CD workflow. Test execution and reporting is automatically handled for all test apps. And every successful build produces artifacts that are stored on the build for 90 days, which is the GitHub default period. Create an actual release by using a create release workflow. Every successful release identified and sources available indefinitely as well. The customer environment can be linked to the GitHub repo for continuous or manual deployment setup. The update ALGO system file workflow ensure that repositories always use the latest version of workflow and action never gets stale. You can create local Docker based or online SaaS development environment with all apps pre-published and ready for rapid application development. Now this is something good. I would
This will
actually spend some time.
this will be good.
Yeah, I need to read it completely. Maybe we need to understand how we can do it. Because this seems interesting. Yeah, as in we were talking about CI/CD, and this brings more clarity and easiness to that, I guess. So let's see. I'll give it a try, and if it sounds interesting, I'll let you know, and we'll talk about it. Telemetry company name as a custom dimension in AL log message. Okay, people who use telemetry, that's for them. Users can export report dataset to XML. Now this is part of a bigger picture, which we'll see in a bit. But users and developers can now get the report data set into XML, and then they can use it for different purposes for troubleshooting and all. Similar to export data set to Excel, no layout. Uh, Now export data set to XML will show up in same places. Okay, so there will be an export to XML if required. This is only for SaaS, governance and administration. Customer managed encryption data set. Customer can consent for to dynamic to Microsoft support accessing their data through a locked box consent flow. I don't know. Allow security administrator to define default permission set assignment while user is signing up. Okay, so they can define the default permission that will go into every new user that comes in. Hmm. Especially which permission set user group are relevant for a license or a plan. Okay, that seems good. You don't have to do it individually. Only license user from 365 run faster and more efficiently. Hmm. Permission set handling enhancement. Now this is changing. Microsoft is working on this for a very long time, I guess. I've seen it slowly they're changing it. Now in this feature, you can also define permission at the method level or at the function level. That while calling this function, assume that this table have a read permission. So you can define it at the method level. You don't have to rely on the permissions or permission set assigned to the user. So it was there to kind of create hierarchies and all, which we have seen in the past. That you don't store your permissions as data now. They are part of an AL object. There are new object set called permission set and permission set extension, which was added in the last release or two release before, I guess. So they can group them based on tenant need, visualize which permission set are included in the given set, including other, and fine tune them needed. We also deliver a new capability to subtract permission with a permission set scope in the release wave. This capability let admin specify that an object cannot be accessed unless access is not granted by another permission set. Hmm.
Negative permission, right?
Yeah, negative permission. Till now, it was just the maximum permission that system used to take. But now the subtract permission, or as you're saying, negative permission is you can limit that they cannot use it.
Products like
Hmm.
SAP do it.
Okay.
So where you
This
can basically restrict a user with a permission set that he will not be able to say post GL entry. And
okay.
even though in some role he may have the permission, this negative will take precedence.
Wow. So now the negative goes on the top priority rather than the max one, which is cool. Let's
I'm
see.
not sure about Business Central, but this is how it
Yeah.
used to happen in SAP.
Yeah, but that's what it says also that a new capability to subtract permission with a permission set scope. The capability lets the admin specify that the object cannot be accessed unless access is not granted by another permission set. So in this particular permission set, you cannot run this object. If another permission set is giving you this permission to run it, then you can, which
I
is,
believe this basically means if somebody has been given say table data 0, that means all. And
yeah,
if you set a negative permission, then you also need a positive permission.
somewhere else. Yeah.
Yes.
Huh.
So this will be basically controlling supers.
Yeah, more or less. As in super in the SaaS is already controlled. Super is not super in SaaS, but yeah. I'm not much into Power Platform right now, but data was data changes. We have seen and improved the Power Automate and Power App connector. Okay. Modern client. Introduce copy link option in the share menu. So there was this share to teams and share somewhere, and that new menu is getting something else also. Share menu update. So you can copy link to the current page, which needed to copy paste from browser address. This can be helpful when you use an installable app within Teams or other experience. Okay, so there's just a copy link which copies the hyperlink of that page into your clipboard. The new PWA app replaces the Windows desktop app. So if you didn't notice when you are accessing Business Central SaaS, I'm not sure about on-prem, there was a download client option on the top. Now this one says that the PWA based desktop app in the Microsoft Store can be installed on online and on-premise. This app replaces the legacy UWP app that was based on older technology, will be kept and maintained only for on-premise deployment. So there is an app available for the on-prem as well as for the SaaS customers from the Windows Store that you can download going forward. I haven't worked on the app, so I don't know
But this is
much.
already available, right?
Yeah, this was they're saying that it was UWP or something earlier. Now they are coming out with PWA, and I don't know what these acronyms are.
This seems like coming from the SharePoint terminology. There they
Yeah,
have got PWA app.
let's see what that is. Usability environment improvement, they do it in every version. Okay, onboarding, context aware links in the help panel. Okay, guided tours, which is already being added. Rich text in teaching tip and tour. Hmm. And tour of role explorer and how to filter it. Okay, so these are default tools. Reporting, and this is most interesting thing that's changing. You can use Excel to design layouts for report.
This will be wonderful. Wonderful.
Now I don't know how good or bad it'll be, but let's see what bakes in. But if you read about it, it says that when you do a download to Excel or your data set to Excel, uh, then you can create a layout, pivot tables, charts in your Excel. And I don't know how, but it seems that they will update it somewhere back in Business Central. It says Excel layout works in the same way as Word and RDLC layout, and they are saved back in Business Central. So that means in the custom report layout, maybe, and I don't know yet, but maybe there is a new option of Excel layouts. User can now create and edit reports layout simply by using a full palette of capabilities in Excel. To create an Excel layout from scratch, open the request page and then download the Excel document data only option. The report generates an Excel file with the sample data and the fields that are available in the report RDL as you do in the dataset. Then you add your layout to the edition tabs. So you can have multiple tabs in there. To test the layout, simply import into the custom layout in Business Central. After the system has validated that the layout is valid for use, you can now go to the request page and run the report with your new layout. Okay, that sounds interesting. Now let's see how that bakes in. But it's like downloading the Excel file and then creating your pivots, diagrams, and chart based on the data that is come generated as the data set of your report, and then uploading it back into the custom report layout selection page and then using it. So I don't know how that impacts if I change my data set, because if I make a destructive change in my report data set, I'm pretty much optimistic that it'll break my Excel layout because that field does not exist. But I guess that's just part and parcel of this. And that applies even today. If you delete a field on your data set, then your RDLC will also break or Word will also break. So let's see what comes up with that. Okay, so some enhancement on the financial report. Okay, performance. Partners can get database insight through virtual tables and inclined pages. The database of Business Central environment make performance counter and information about SQL queries available through DMVs. It requires direct database access to be able to obtain the information for Business Central online environment. This is not possible due to security restriction, which makes sense. The Business Central platform will make data from a subset of those DMVs available as virtual table so that the data can be accessed from AL code. We'll also add page on top of the table to make it easy to get data without having to write a code. Okay, so this is specifically about Business Central SaaS customers because there is no access to the SQL Server, as we all know. And what's happening with this is the SQL queries that are being generated while your code is executed, they will be stored in some temporary table, or sorry, in some system tables, and there will be some pages so that you can see those queries, what caused that, and that will also be available for developers in the VS Code. So let's see how that goes. Again, telemetry, and that's it. Anything else that you find interesting, which I haven't talked
The
about?
last telemetry, last point,
Oh,
deadlocks.
deadlock occur. This is logged into telemetry. So yeah, now this is important that people learn telemetry and start using telemetry. I guess in on-prem it gets logged into your event viewer, all the telemetry events. But in SaaS, I guess you have to create an app in Azure and then use it, right?
Not sure. I haven't worked on this.
Yeah, because what happened, not in the last release, but maybe 2, 3 release back, where Microsoft said that every extension that is built for SaaS need to have an app inside key. And let me walk through you. What does that mean? So what happens is when you create a new extension, let me do that here. Few release back, this was said and this was rejected by most of the partners, and then it was rolled back. So when you're using telemetry, you can actually have an app inside key here, application inside key. Now this key is a key that is generated on your, as a partner, you need to generate that inside key in your uh, what do we call that, Azure, and then put that key here. So if this key is defined here, then that's considered as the partner key, and all the telemetry events will be logged into against this key so that you can actually see and view all those telemetry events in your environment as a partner. So that was something, that's how a partner can see the telemetry, as in they need to make sure that their uh, key is added in their extension or in the environment, because that option is also available in the Business Central SaaS environment. And then all these telemetry signals which are emitted by Business Central will get logged into your Azure blob or somewhere. So it was kind of made mandatory a year ago or so, but the partner community rejected it completely, and that's where it was not mandatory. But now I guess if you have to use telemetry and if it gives you information about deadlocks and all, then I think you can have a telemetry emitting signal on your apps. So let's see what that brings and how people use it. Okay, so all this being said, but what's going away? Did we had a look on that? It's deprecated in Business Central. Because as a developers, we also need to keep an eye on what's being deprecated. But that's what we do in SaaS or on-prem world. The features that are being deprecated in different releases, we need to start rewriting those if they are being used by our customer. So 2022 release wave 1, which is version 20. If you are somehow using Business Central basic auth for using API connections or any other kind of connections for web services and all, then that's going away. It'll be released, removed in this release. So the only way is to use the OAuth for authentication. Uh, there are so many sessions, I guess, which are done by AJ. He have also talked about it in different webinars, different sessions that he do, specifically about OAuth. But now is the time that if you are using any basic authentication, which means a username and a web service key that you generate on your users page, then that's going away. Those kind of connections will not work going forward. Now, this feature will be removed only for online. So if you are still using it for on-prem, I guess that you are safe there. But this only gets removed for Business Central Online from 2022 release wave 1. Starting this release, and we have talked about it, you cannot use permission as data. That means your extension cannot have an XML file which stores all your permissions. It should be converted to an object called permission set, and that's where the permission will go. So if you have SaaS customers, you should start working on it today. If you have on-prem customers and you are doing the new implementations on Business Central 18 or 19, make sure you don't create the legacy that will cause problems going forward. Okay. The old APIs are going away. The V1 API, I guess, are going away. The native invoicing API will be deprecated. Okay. So now API V2 will be the only one available. That's it going away, I guess. That's from the features in the platform. These are the only things, and then you can read more about it, what's being deprecated in the application, in different region, in the base app and all. That all is available. I'm not sure about the emailing part when it is going away, but it should be going away somewhere nearby. Oh, 2020 release wave 1. That's old enough. But that was marked obsolete in 2020 release wave 1. So maybe this is going away, the old pricing engine. And I don't know, is it extended or not. But until 2020 release wave 1. So that means this is the release when it goes away, the old pricing engine. And then this is what data was best price only 2. Okay. And there's a lot that you can read about it here in different places. Oh, India has just released, and then there are deprecated tables that are going away. Good. So yeah, there is a lot that you can read about it, what's going away and when it is going away, and take your actions against it because it's just this month, I guess, that's available with the old release. So we have kind of briefly gone through it. Once the release is available, we'll kind of go deep into it. But here are the key dates that we need to keep in mind. If you are part of the Ready to Go program from Microsoft, which happens from Microsoft Collaborate portal, I guess, then you can access the Business Central 2020 build or 2022 build from January 31st, which is in this week or the coming week. You can start validating your extension for the April release starting January 31st if you are part of the go to market or I guess early access feature program. There's a program around it. If you are not part of it, then on 23rd of February, the preview builds will be available for everyone to download or create Dockers around it and then test all your customer extensions for the April release. So that's kind of planning for that. The GA will happen on April 1st, which is the default where everybody knows it's April 1 and September 1. So April 1, the general availability will be there, and then it'll start rolling out for SaaS customers and on-prem. You can decide whenever you guys want to do it. Any thoughts, questions on these dates or anything? Okay. So let's get into our question. We've spent a good amount of time into this. There was a question or a comment that came into the YouTube channel on one of the last PC open discussion or some other PC discussion, where somebody wanted to get an example of how you download an image from an URL from a website. So we already have a project opened here, and let's try to do that. So let me connect it to my Docker and let me know if I have to change the color theme or make it big. Okay. So now let's assume where we should add it. Let me open my Business Central environment. PC193 inbox. Okay. Change it to PC193. Keep it consistent so that I don't get into this problem. But okay. Okay. So what that person wants who commented on YouTube is to have a capability somewhere so that they can give a URL from a picture for a picture and then it gets downloaded from that URL. So let's do it like this, I guess. Okay, on our customer card. Oh, there's no image one. Okay, let's say on customer card, there's this called customer picture, and then there are some options: import, export, and delete. Let's add one more option to import from an URL, or maybe download from an URL if required. So let me see the page number of this so that we can create an extension on it. This is my customer picture page. So what we want to do is we want to add a action into this, which will allow us to kind of uh, download that image from a URL. So let's do a quickly a customer picture page extension. Okay, okay. Let's do a page extension on 50100 and let's call it as customer picture, which is trying to extend the customer picture. Okay. Don't want to change anything on the layout, so all that goes away, and we surely want to add an action. Okay. So let's do it at add last on my, what is that? Is that a processing action? Let's see what's that. Definition, action, processing. Okay. So let's add it on the last of the processing. That's preferred to either use either at the first or at the end. And the reason behind it is that if you hook it on add after on add before, and that particular field is removed by Microsoft, then the anchor of this action will be lost. So it's always preferred that you use the first or the last so that your action remains even if Microsoft changes some options. Let's add an action and let's call it as import or from URL. Okay. Application area is set, and then let's do a caption. Get picture. Okay. And image is of importing. Okay. And then let's do a tooltip so that it doesn't warn me later. Get a picture from URL. Okay. Now let's think about it. What we want to do. We want to get an image from an URL. So what we need for that is a place where a user can enter a URL because that's important. Otherwise, how we will navigate to that? What we'll need is we'll need a dialog, and based on that dialog, we can then get the URL from the user and then use that. So let's create a dialog. and let's call it as image dialog. Let's create a page and let's give it same ID and we'll call it as image dialog. And the page is of type dialog. Is that a dialog? I think there is a dialog or standard dialog or something. Standard dialog. Okay. I don't want it to be visible on the menu, so I don't need an application area. I don't need a user category, and I also it's an unbound page, so I don't need a source table. And now let's give it a caption, and we'll call it as image dialog. And what I need from user is two things, or one thing majorly, which is the URL of the picture. So let's call it as picture URL. And this need to be of my text. Okay. I don't need any actions on this page. It's just a simple page which lets me to get the URL from the user. Okay. Now I don't need a group also because it's just a flat page to get URL. Okay. Now what I need to do is call this page and then get the URL and then download that picture, more or less. That's what the intention is. So let's think about if I have a URL from here, how I will kind of download or kind of read that. Because that's important because downloading part is easy. So let's maybe backtrack it and think about how we can download. If I have a picture, let's assume I have a picture. What options I have in Business Central to download from? So create a procedure and see. Let's call it download image. The easiest way to download a file in Business Central is by using our download from a stream. Download image is the action here. So download from stream, which allows me to have a stream and then a dialog or a to folder and a to file, and then the file name that you want. So I can just do a download from stream, which means I'll need an input stream. So let's create an input stream. Stream. So that means I need a picture stream here. And the second parameter to this method is dialog title, which I don't want anything. Do I need a folder? I cannot on this as at least. Filter, I don't need that. And the last but not least is the file name. So I can actually have the text. I can set it as picture file name is equals to bcopendiscussion. Let's assume that it's a JPG because we are specifically talking about images at this point, and then I can add picture file name here. So if I call this function or call this method from somewhere, it will download the picture. That's good, but I need to have some content inside this stream, and that's important because this will define the thing that need to be downloaded as a file. The stream will define that. So now let's think about how I can kind of call a URL and then get the picture out of it and then use that. So let's create a procedure again. And let's call it as get picture from URL. We have talked about this in past. If you don't remember, there are HTTP options. So I can do a client and call it as HTTP client. Then what options I have? Let me see. I will need a response. Okay. When I can do a client HTTP client.get, and then I just need to give a path and the response that I need to fetch from the response message. So I can do a get with my URL, which is picture URL, and the response is stored here. So let's say response. This will get into this will call this and will store the response into my response variable. Once I have the response, I can read that response somewhere. So let's try that. Response dot content of that response, and then I can clear it. I can get the headers of it. I can read it, and I can write to it. Let's see what's inside the read as. When I do a read as, there is one called as a text. You want to read the response as a text, and then there's a second overload to this that read into stream. So I can actually read the content into a stream, which is my picture stream. So this will read the result into my stream, and then I can actually from here call my download image, which will then invoke downloading that image into my download folder. Now I need to call this, so we will call it from here and the get picture from URL. But before that, I need to set this so that it doesn't lose the focus. Okay. So what we'll do is on our main page, we will declare our new page. Just let's say image dialog of page. Image dialog, and then I can call my image dialog dot on that page, and if the action says as okay, then I can call my picture from URL, which will then automatically invoke the parameter that's given there. And I am not doing the kind of fail proof things. You can test it out. Is the picture URL is empty or not, and things like that. But let's publish this and see what it brings. Now, while this is being published, let's go in and find an image. Okay, Google. Images. Okay, let's pick any image. Let's pick this one. Is this an image? No, this is not good. Okay, let me find BC open discussion. That's our image, so I know for a fact that we'll find it. But this is crazy. Okay, let's see Business Central. We should have some images somewhere. Okay. Let's pick anyone. Okay, here it is. And then if I right click on this and say new tab, I actually get a URL for this image. I'll use this image. Okay, here we are. So let's go into my customer card and we will test out this. Okay. So we added the action here called get picture. So let's do this. It pops up our dialog box and you can make it fancy as you want. You click on this, and then when you click OK, because it's an HTTP call, it'll ask you, do you want to allow it once or multiple times? And then you can do that. It's on your options. Click OK, and that should download the image as a name as BC open discussion because we have hard coded that. and they're actually open on my other screen. But this is the picture that just got downloaded. Now you can play around with this for sure, and there will be very easy possibilities to kind of even load it into the customer or any page that for that matter. Instead of downloading this, you can actually store it into that image field of your customer, item, or vendors, or anywhere else. Because once it is in stream, then you can use different records. Like here, I cannot do it here, but you can actually do customer dot or rec dot picture. No, it's being replaced with image. Okay, so rec dot image, and then you can import file or you can import stream. So once you have it into stream, you can either load it into the record if you want, for that matter, or the person who asked this question was specifically around downloading a file. So you can also download it. And based on different scenarios, if you have to download via code, you might not want to build a page or a page extension to do this. But if you have a scenario where you want to import it and then store it, then you can, based on that in a stream, you can just set it here and it'll get overwritten on that master. Does that make sense? Any questions? And it was the only code that we have written for that. This code brings it from the outside world into the stream, and then you can do whatever you want with that stream. Okay. So that was kind of answering that question, and we are already at the end of our meeting. But any other thoughts for next week? As in, I have 2, 3 things already written down, and we have talked about in the past, so you can surely go through them. But yeah, anything else?
Sort of just one small question. Uh, in earlier of your meeting, you've mentioned that on a page when we define fields, right? When we add table fields, it's not coming with the rec dot field name, and there's some kind of action or something that will add rec to that variable, to that table field.
Mm-hmm.
So how does we do that? I mean, how we can achieve this thing?
All right, so it's super simple. If you go into extensions, and then there is an extension called ALAZ, right?
Yeah.
This one, right?
Correct.
And then if you have to, let's say if I have to create a new, there is a wizard right here, new AL file wizard.
Mm-hmm.
We click on this, and let's say I have to create a page, or a page extension for that matter. Let's say page on say customer table. The rules will apply here. So you'll see some options here, like what type of page you are creating, what is the application area, do you want to make it visible or not, if yes, under which menu, and
No,
then do you want to.
that's okay. That's just one thing. But what if we create a page extension and we need to add the pages? And then, so when you add a new field in that page, so when you put field and you put that field, and it will come directly with the field name, not with the rack.
No, so
Correct?
if you create a page extension using this, it will come it. And why I was not showing it, because I didn't had a page extension as the fields. So let me
This is,
quickly do. Yes, sir. You can.
what happens normally is when you are upgrading, then this problem definitely comes that you don't have a rec. So there's a command, uh,
Yeah, to append it.
remove with remove implicit, I believe, is a command that you can run.
Okay, let me just add some fields here so that I can show it to him. I think too, and yeah, I got from the upgrade perspective because we deal with it, and then as Sadeep sir is saying, there are different ways to handle it. But let's say I've added these 2 fields on the customer table. That's for the
Mhm.
sake of clarity. Okay. Now I want to add the And if it is specifically about upgrade, then upgrade doesn't also bring the data classification. That's another catch. Uh, when I create a page extension around it, and I say this is my first, okay, and this is extending the customer card. Okay, and then there's no options around it. Okay, so here is this light bulb, and again, I guess it's from the ALAZ, and sorry if I'm wrong, but one of these extension have this. When you click on this, it doesn't right now, not yet, because I haven't defined the scope. So if I do a
layout kind of
layout,
thing.
and then inside that, if I define where I want to add, let's say add last on my journal tab, then
So now you just add that field, T field, yeah, kind of this thing. And now
yeah,
if
so
you
if I click on this now, so add multiple fields, ALAZ tools. Okay.
yeah, right. But if you directly let's say just put any the field name that the field you
That'll
create.
that'll not bring it. That's
Right.
what you're saying. Yeah, that'll not bring it as of today. Yeah.
Huh. But
So
I guess in some of your video you have put that I mean I'm not sure that. So
Can you
it
go to
will
the command
ask
prompt?
you.
Can you go to the command
okay, command
view?
palette. Yeah.
Command palette.
So yeah, if you add it, one it's ALAZ using this, it automatically brings it. But yeah, as Sandeep sir is saying, you can do a implicit, or this is the
Remove.
explicit, right?
Simply remove. Remove. Type remove.
Okay, remove. Sorry, remove
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
users from
With
active.
usages. This will do.
Okay, so that's just added here. So if you have multiple pages of enough, okay,
Mhm.
if you have a big project where there are hundreds of pages, make a backup of it for sure. But as Sandeep sir was saying, there was a with users from active editor, which means the file which is currently open, and then there is with users from active project, which means it removes it from all the pages, and adds rec into your pages and your actions in the whole project. So it will scan all the files, right? The other thing that I guess we use while we do upgrade is like these field, let's assume they are coming from NAV, and they were testing and testing one and testing two, but now they should have a prefix. ALAZ also have a prefix adder, which is prefix, and it'll tell you that do you want to change the object prefix, and then you say what is the current prefix, and you say nothing, and you say what the new prefix you want, and I say okay, let's say SDH. Then you also have to give it space here, I guess, and then when you click OK, and then you set it, it'll automatically update it on all the pages that you have. And did I do something wrong? Yeah, so it added it here on the tables itself. And that's where it is mandatory that in table extensions, it's like this. So that's one common one. The with one you have seen. The other one before this, it's actually, let me reverse this, and you can reverse it if it goes wrong. And I can say that the current prefix is this and the new prefix is blank, and no, it'll remove it from there. So now if I go to my table extension, it'll be removed. So when you come from NAV, most of the time your captions are not set because they are set to default as less than between less than and greater than. So the first thing that you should do when you come from the older versions and you don't have captions, that first you should generate the captions, because otherwise the if the caption does not exist, then the field name is used. So you can add the field caption again on active project or editor if you want. And then, yes, and then it adds the caption. Once the caption is added, then you can add the prefix so that you have a caption with the same field name. And if there was
Okay.
a if there was a caption, so you don't have to worry about it. If there was a caption which is for this field, there was a caption, but for this field, there was none, it will only append on this one. It's that smart, I guess. Yes, so it'll not override my caption, which is already there. Once the captions are in place, then you should do the prefixing one. Once this is done, then you should make sure that you have the data classification set on all the table fields and table extension field. And again, there is a data classification command. You can choose which is customer content in most of the cases. And then what else is required? On the pages, you need that application area and users category and tooltip, right? So if you don't have a tooltip on different pages, then you can, and there was an error on this page, so that's why it didn't convert this. But yeah, it should be compiling. But there is no tooltip, or let's assume there is no application area when you come from NAB. That means that these fields will not be visible even if you have added into the page extension. So you should make sure that you have the application area set on, again, on active project or editor. So all. And then you should have the users category set. Oh, sorry, tooltip set on all the pages or fields. You don't have to do this manually, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So all these are available. Use Control Shift P. Look for that symbol that you know are looking for, and you'll find some commands from. And the best pack to install, which contains all of these, is the Waldo pack. So Waldo pack have all the AL extension pack. Will have all these extension which are required by you as a AL developer.
Right.
So this one have more or less everything that's needed. Okay. Anything else?
Yep. Got it. Thanks.
Thanks, man. Okay. If nothing, then we'll meet next week.
Thanks,
Saurabh,
Saurabh.
one more.
Thanks,
Go ahead,
man.
Vijay.
Vijay, you are saying something?
Is there any other way to compare your sandbox and your production? You can say UAT or production object instead of comparing folder.
Instead of comparing folder, no, there is no other way. As in, you'll have to compare the files as well. Anyone else knows anything that can help in comparison? I don't know. Waldo pack also have something for comparison. We just saw it.
Partial difference.
Partial
Partial
diff.
difference.
I haven't used it, but oh, you can do it on the same file. And what else? Is compare text selection within a file across files or to the clipboard. So it's not comparing two folders. Which is weird.
But what exactly are you trying to do, Vijay?
Yeah, actually, I need to compare production and UAT extension. What are the files have difference?
So what you can use Delta, na? So that will give you all the differences
What delta, sir?
in the PowerShell.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
PowerShell will not read the AL files, right?
No, no, that yeah, PowerShell can read AL files. I think text
Yeah,
and
they
AL.
can.
Yeah, that way I can do.
Which the Navision commands or the just simple PowerShell?
Simple PowerShell.
Okay, okay, yeah.
So you can get the delta from there,
Mhm.
and that will give you the differences. I haven't done it, but I believe it will work.
Array, there is a way, Vijay, download your source code from Sandbox and from production or whatever the other environment is. deploy one code in a source control, let's say in GitHub. Okay, clone that and overwrite whatever comes from production, and then using the using your VS Code, you can just see it on this menu what's changed between these two sets.
Correct. Correct. Mm-hmm.
But use GitHub, make a private repo. You don't have to make it public for customer because it's customer code. Just put it there, one set of code, clone that, and then replace all the file from your production or sandbox, whatever that is. And the source control capabilities will show you what changed between these two files.
That seems a good idea.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. So my Docker license is about to expire. So do you know anything how to update it?
Docker license or Business Central license?
Yeah, sorry, Business Central license on Docker.
Oh yeah, you are using this what we call that BC container, right? So there
Yeah.
is this module that is used for this. So there should be a command, and I am pretty sure there is a command to license import BC container server license. This is what you need to get the new license in your container.
Okay, nice.
Import BC container license is the PowerShell command from the BC container helper that you can use to kind of load the new license in your Docker. You just need to give the license file name and the container name and restart. That's it.
Ah, right. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, anyone? Okay, then see you next week. And we'll
Thanks, Saurabh.
get it up. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.